Hello, welcome to Strictly Money at the News Forum, where all voices matter. I'm Saijal Patel. A plan to grow our economy and make life more affordable. That was the title of the 2022 federal budget unveiled on September 7th. Tens of billions in new spending have been earmarked for targeted initiatives over the next 5 years, as well as a controversial surtax to help cut the deficit. To help us break down the impact of the budget on the Canadian economy and people's pocketbooks is David-Alexandre Brassard. He's the chief economist at CPA Canada. Hi, David. Great to have you on.
Hello, Saijal. Great. Thanks for having me.
David, some have described this budget as a modest or a prudent one. How would you characterize it? Did it meet or surpass your expectations, or did it miss the mark?
I see it as a balancing act. Because the starting point is the government finds itself with 100 billion additional revenues on a 5-year time frame, and they decided to spend half of it. So we're seeing incremental touches on innovation and growth, and the big ticket item, as you said, we're tackling housing quite heavily. We're going on climate change, and also with the Ukraine situation, we're going on the defense. So they tried balancing it. Will they hit the mark? That's a good question that you're asking.
Yeah. So let's go through some of those big ticket items, David. Housing affordability on a lot of people's mind. It looks like they've earmarked about $10 billion. They introduced a ban on foreign homeowners for 2 years. Mind you, with a list of exceptions, they announced this $4 billion acceleration fund to support supply. In your view, will any of these announcements or measures work?
I'm quite happy to see that most of the money was directed for housing supply, which has been targeted as the issue. So those ones might hit the mark. The fact that the federal government's taking a leadership position on housing is quite interesting. When we talk about the other side of the coin, supporting homeownership, I'm just wondering if the support to first-time homebuyer will put more pressure on the market. That's a concern that I have. And you mentioned the ban on foreign ownership, and for example, the tax on property flipping. Those to me are small increments that I don't believe will necessarily change the balance that much.
Okay. Environment. $12.4 billion of new spending to get to this net zero by 2050. Were you satisfied with their plan and their transition to the greener economy? I mean, did they get that balance right between being able to meet that forecast and making sure that they don't hurt our economy?
Well, the first thing we need to talk about it in that point is that the budget comes right after they tabled the 2030 reduction plan. So it goes hand in hand on that front. A lot of the money is directed towards the transition to electric vehicles, which is a big ticket item on their agenda. And I'm happy to see that we're doubling down on the investing side. So we want to invest for carbon capture, and that's a good thing. We'll still have to wait and see, because the carbon pricing, how it's going to increase in the further year is quite high. So consumers might still feel it in their pockets.
Okay. One of the things that did surprise me, David, was that there wasn't a lot of mention about COVID and supporting businesses necessarily who've been really hard hit, right? We know that many of them are reeling in debt, and sort of addressing that legacy of debt seem to have missed or been missed. What are your thoughts?
As I told you, it's the balancing act for the Liberals relies on the fact that they've been hit by commentators and other political parties about the fact that they spent too much on COVID-19 support. So I think they're trying to move away from that. And will some people be left behind in the hard hit sectors? Maybe. That's kind of the risk that they're judging is okay in terms of balancing the good and the bad.
Okay. We only have about 30 seconds. The deficit reduction and the timing of it, do you think it's pretty realistic?
I'm kind of a bit not sad, but I would have hoped to see something around the lines of balancing the budget. But like you said, it's a red ink on the forecast period. So I'm hoping that we'll see better. We'll go back to a balanced budget eventually.